What's up, guys? I am Laura from Reading in Bed, and today is Sunday, December 10th. Yes. This is a very casual, wet hair and no makeup kind of a daily video. So, to subscribers new and old, sorry about that. Tomorrow I will be back to filming before work, so I will be a bit less of a mess. But let's get into it. We are going to talk about the short story advent calendar. I will talk about yesterday's story, number 9, and then we'll reveal the day 10 story. But first, I just want to talk very quickly about the Brontes, because last night I finished The Professor by Charlotte Brontë, which means I am now done all of the Brontë novels. About 21 years after I read Wuthering Heights for the very first time in a grade 11 English class, I am done. Although, of course, I'm not done because I'm also currently rereading Agnes Grey, and I will reread these books for the rest of my life. But I just want to talk about The Professor quickly because along with Shirley, which this is an edition with both Shirley and The Professor, these are often spoken of as lesser books. The Professor is the first novel that Charlotte Brontë wrote, or at least the first one she completed and showed to anybody. And Shirley, I think, came in between Jane Eyre and Villette. I'm not sure, but they're both sort of her lesser works, and people talk shit about them and stuff. Now, with Shirley, it's kind of deserved. I read Shirley a year or two ago, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's much more of a female friendship plot than a marriage plot, but it is not the greatest, to be honest. It's a mess. It meanders. It has a lot of different things going on that don't really all come together. It's also sort of a north and south-ish like look at the Industrial Revolution, which is, yeah, it's not really her forte, let's just say. But The Professor, I thought was really great. It exceeded my admittedly very low expectations. It's also the only Brontë book written solely from a male perspective. Now, I mean, you could say Wuthering Heights because Lockwood and Heathcliff and blah, blah, blah. But this, like, The Professor is really just from this professor's point of view. It's William Crimsworth. And there's a bit of a frame. He's writing to a friend, but not a big imposing frame like Wuthering Heights. We're really just in his head, and he gets involved with 2 women and ends up with one of them at the end. Spoiler alert. But I thought it was good. I mean, it was only about 250 pages long, so and you've got a lot of those gothic elements and scenery and drama, and we're in Brussels and we're in boarding schools, which, are typical kind of Brontë settings. So yeah, I mean, was it as good as Wuthering Heights or Villette? No, but I would say it's kind of middle of the pack. It's not bottom of the pack. Let's put it that way. And the other thing about The Professor, like many of the Brontë novels, and especially Charlotte's, actually mostly Charlotte's, it's just funny how much we let her off the hook for her rampant racism, misogyny, anti-Catholic sentiment, which as a very lapsed Catholic, I'm totally fine with, by the way. And actually, I'm fine with all of it because, believe it or not, I don't form my views of gender and race based on dead Victorian novelists, but like other authors, even dead authors and certainly authors today get slammed for this kind of thing. But everyone still loves Jane Eyre, despite the many, many problematic things, and a lot of the same stuff is in here. But I had to laugh, like in addition to all that typical stuff, at the very end, we get this line where Crimsworth's friend Hudson is speaking to him of the woman he didn't choose, the one he didn't marry. He says, I should so like to see your first flames arrayed. Mistress, don't be jealous, but he loved that lady to distraction. I know it for a fact. Brown says she weighs 12 stones now. You see what you've lost, Mr. Professor. So I looked up 12 stones. That's basically exactly what I weigh. Fuck you, Charlotte Brontë. What the hell with the fat shaming? So anyways, let's move on. So story number 9 from the short story advent calendar was called Aftermath. It was by Lauren Vandenberg. And, well, sort of like The Professor, this was good, but it was not great. It had very similar themes to the Kickstarter story. I can't remember the full title, but if you've been reading, you know which one I mean. Because it's about sisters and it's about grief and loss. And it's a bit quirky. It's, got some kind quirky happenings and twists and turns. However, the Kickstarter story did that all so much better, and it was just so much more lively and fun. And this one was just sort of like, there were a lot of things thrown in that didn't really get explored. It's only a 7-page story, but the Kickstarter one, I believe, was only 5 pages, so that proves that it can be done. This one didn't quite make the mark for me. I did enjoy it. I felt some feelings and whatnot. But yeah, this is kind of a good but not great story for me. So let's move on and see what we've got in store for day 10. Now, I did unintentionally get spoiled because I just kind of saw something on Twitter flash by. But it wasn't an author I was familiar with, so no harm done, really. Okay, here we go. So this is called Announcements by Daniel Orozco, who is the author of Orientation and Other Stories. He teaches in the creative writing program at the University of Idaho, and he is currently still at work on a novel. All right, Daniel Orozco. So I'll just read the very first part so you can get a taste. So we start with like a dictionary definition of announce. Verb: to make known as an official messenger, to make public, to proclaim. Candy Glatt, a daughter of Margaret Glatt and Andrew Glatt, was married Sunday afternoon to Felix Winnicki, the son of Susan Winnicki and the late Thomas Top Winnicki. The Reverend J. Edmund Prosser performed the ceremony at St. John the Divine Lutheran Church. Okay, so it looks like we've got the form of wedding announcements. So that's kind of interesting. Sort of reminds me again of that Kickstarter story, like using, some forms that are typically not used for real storytelling to tell a story. So I'm excited to read this. And it's another 7-pager. And the kids are out at ukulele lessons right now, so maybe I'll just go read it right this second, and I will report back tomorrow. Thanks for watching.